Yes, people, what's going on? Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm not doing well right now. We are hearing breaking news reports, although unconfirmed reports, but reports coming through that there are sources in the Glazers circle that say the Manchester United owners are taking the club off the market and will try to sell the club again in 2025 when there are conditions more favourable for an auction. This is coming out in the mail from Nick Harris and from Alex Miller. It's from Sporting Intel on Twitter. You're probably more familiar with that than obviously the guy in the mail. Sporting Intel, Nick Harris, fairly reliable, fairly on the ball with things. And we're hearing these reports coming through that the Glazers are holding out for £10 billion to part ways with Manchester United. It says they're looking for conditions more favourable to an auction. We have heard about bids after bids after bids from the Qatari group, from the Sir Jim Ratcliffe group, from a few other different groups. And then the Glazer family themselves were all split on whether they were going to take these bids. Now, at this moment in time, Nick Harris does say that there's no comment from Manchester United on this. Rain Group have not responded, and the Sheikh Jassim camp source has said we have heard nothing. But the story is this in the Mail on Sunday: that Manchester United will be taken off the market by the Glazer family after bidders failed to reach their huge asking price in a blow to furious fans as they hold out for £10 billion for the clubs. I'm sure there will be plenty of reaction from the fans, from the different supporters groups. We've seen the 1958 continuously bringing fans together in recent years, recent seasons, to protest against the Glazers. Manchester United fans have been protesting against the Glazers since 2005 when the Glazers came in control of the club, and continuously since then as well. Obviously, the 1958 group more recently have been doing them at a lot of Manchester United's home games, and we've seen various other online and obviously outside at the ground and various other places, different protests. Now, those protests, I'm sure, will continue to happen, and I encourage everybody to continue to protest. But this story that we're hearing right now is sickening. It's maybe a little bit expected, because we've kind of expected the Glazers, who have been digging their heels in, dragging along for ages, that if they were going to take any of these bids, surely we would have heard by now. Of course, the same thing could be said that if they were going to take Manchester United off the market, surely we would have heard by now. But this is the story that is coming through as things continue to drag on in terms of Manchester United. The more recent reports we heard that the Qataris were confident that something would be done, by October potentially. But this is the latest, as I said, from Nick Harris, Sporting Intel on Twitter. The Glazers are going to take Manchester United off the market, having failed to get close to their anticipated asking price, according to a source with long-standing close ties to the American family. The move is certain to provoke fury among Manchester United fans, who have never felt much warmth at all. Much warmth is kind of underplaying it, towards the club's owners, and blame them for a lack of recent success and investment in infrastructure. The Glazers are thick-skinned and won't be influenced by any negative fan reactions, said the source, adding the family's original plan was to attract multiple serious bidders, and that didn't materialise. It's kind of felt like we have had multiple bidders. Whether they've considered them serious or not remains to be seen. The family made it known last November that they were open to offers for either 100% of the club or a partial sale that left them with a sizable stake. Only two serious bidders emerged: Sheikh Jassim of Qatar, who wants the whole club, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, whose offer would leave the Glazers with a minority interest. Sources close to those parties have been left frustrated as to the Glazers' stance, making multiple rounds of offers and being given no indication of where they stood. At one point, Sheikh Jassim's camp bypassed US merchant bankers Rain, who have been in charge of the sales process, to deal directly with the Glazers. And even amid recent rumours suggesting the Qatari bid was about to be accepted, the situation hasn't moved on. The logic for taking United off the market now, says the source, is that the Glazer family will try to sell the club again in 2025, when they hope financial and environmental factors may attract more bidders. The Glazers hope for a huge price thanks to an uplift in TV rights revenues, the expansion of the Club World Cup to 32 teams, which could be very lucrative, and the forthcoming 2026 World Cup. That event, to be hosted in the USA, will heighten the interest of American billionaires in football investments. The Glazers think this may help them sell United for between 7 billion. It was believed they were getting offered around 6 billion at this moment in time. These greedy bastards. They bought Manchester United with leverage debt that came onto the club. We've been in that debt ever since, around £700 million. And it's fluctuated, up and down, but it remains around that point at this moment in time. It's cost the Manchester United around £1.5 billion. They've never put a penny into the club. Our recent financial fair play issues could have been averted if we had received ownership investment into the club. But guess what? The Glazers don't do that. They never have. They take dividends out. They take, they use Manchester United to refinance the debt and repurpose loans and all these different things that, as a football fan, you don't even want to be talking about, but you end up talking about because the Glazers are just running Manchester United into the ground and making us lose so much money. And yes, opposition fans will say, well, Man United spend a lot of money. We do. That's in spite of the Glazers, though. Imagine what Manchester United could do if we didn't have these owners holding us back, if we didn't have owners that ultimately didn't have a clue what they were doing, if we had invested that 1.5 billion into the club instead of having it drained out of the club. A sitting protest by United fans was held at Old Trafford last week and urged the family to sell up yet again, but the Glazers have long ignored supporters. The owners have backed manager Erik ten Hag. The article says that, not me. And hope he can deliver. We had to loan someone that we wanted to sign just because our FFP was messed up. They're doing really well to back the managers to the club over the next 2 seasons, which could help boost the sale price. It's a depressing state of affairs right now. And if this is true, which, wouldn't surprise me if it was, then long may the protests continue. As it said as well, you don't really expect it to do anything to the Glazers. They've been stubborn for a long time. They've long ignored fan opinion, fan content, discontent against them. They've long ignored the fans and what the fans think of them. At Manchester United, 2025. Well, next year is 2024. All right, 2 years. What happens then when it's not suitable conditions for them to get 100% profit out of the club and walk away, every single member of the family billion, sick bastards that have infested Manchester United. And it looks like we could be stuck with them even further. Depressing state of affairs ahead of what's a huge Premier League game for Manchester United. Arsenal against Manchester United. Big Premier League game. And it makes you think back to the times when Manchester United were challenging for league titles and winning league titles and challenging for the Champions League. And with these lot at the helm, first of all, it's distracting from the football. Great game tomorrow. But it just goes to show all the memories of those games. We're a long way from that, and we will be whilst these lot are in charge, because we only won things between 05 and 13, like serious trophies, because of Fergie. Now, Ten Hag could be the genius that brings some of it back, but that success will be because of him, not because of the Glazers, because they've done everything but run Manchester United as a successful football club. It's been as a successful piggy bank for them and their family, and it looks like it's going to continue. Anyway, on that depressing note, I'll see you later.